This is 911. Do you have an emergency? Just your emergency service. They're doing good hands here.
We begin on the evening of October 24th, 1989, at a truck stop cafe in Taft, Florida.
Almost every night for the past 2.5 years, waitress Mickey Speck has had a regular customer, 72-year-old Dominic Davanzo.
I work the 10 to 6 shift, which I'm there by myself. I described him as my little helper. He was there to help me if someone would give me a hard time. Dominic spoke up. It just hurt me that someone would want to hurt him.
Around 11:15, Dominic left the restaurant and headed for home. Detective John Mock was one of the investigators on the case.
His residence had been broken into 2 times prior to this evening. There's no doubt in my mind that the perpetrator or perpetrators that entered the residence to burglarize also had the intention of murdering the victim. That particular night, there was no moonlight. It was very dark. The residence is surrounded by businesses which close at 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. There's absolutely no one around. He first noticed that his porch light was out. That really didn't arouse any suspicion because sometimes porch lights burn out.
He left his car headlights on temporarily to light the way into the house. Though bleeding profusely from a gunshot wound to his shoulder, Dominic managed to make his way back into the house.
The other phones had been cut on a previous burglary, but the victim had another telephone that he had concealed.
The call came in at 11:35 p.m.
911 is your emergency.
Sheriff's Department right away, please. Somebody shot me.
Somebody shot you?
Yes, hurry up, please.
When we continue,
He did not see the person who shot him, did not see whether they ran or if they were still there, and I was very concerned about that.
Left shoulder?
Yes, ma'am.
Orlando's enhanced 911 system automatically gave operator Jackie Zagrocki the caller's name and location.
You, Dominic?
Yes, ma'am. I'm bleeding bad.
Okay, we have people on the way. Just stay calm.
All right.
I didn't realize what kind of serious condition he was in because he was so calm and so relaxed.
She passed the essential information to dispatch. Sheriff's deputies Bob Dow and David Legvold took the call.
Don't hang up. I'm going to put my dispatcher on the phone, okay?
All right.
Okay, do you know who might have shot you at all?
Ma'am?
Do you know who might have shot you at all?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so they were in your house when you got home?
No, ma'am. They were hiding behind the trailer.
You cannot give me any description whether they were white or black, male, female?
It's too dark over here.
Okay, did you
With
hear
each passing second, Dominic was losing more blood and growing weaker.
from behind the trailer?
No, ma'am. Are they coming?
Yes, sir, they're coming, okay? Just stay calm.
He did not see the person who shot him, did not see whether they ran or if they were still there. And I was very concerned about that.
The address is generally in a rural industrial area. I was looking for a watchman or a janitor who had walked in the middle of a burglary or something and been shot.
Here they come now. Oh, they're just going by my place.
County 144. Do you have a business name?
I don't believe it's a business. I think it's a residence. You just go ahead and stay tight on the phone with us.
Go outside and see.
Okay, put the phone down, okay? But come back when you flag them down, okay?
All right.
Don't hang up.
Before we got out of the car, we could see that he was covered in blood. Deputy Dow asked for rescue immediately.
Set you down right here.
My immediate concern was that we still had armed suspects in the area, and we had no cover, but yet we had to give the victim first aid. Very insecure feeling that it was an obvious possibility that he might bleed to death.
He was very coherent, a little bit angry, a little bit feisty. Being shot is a pretty traumatic experience for anybody. And it was obvious that we're dealing with an elderly gentleman here who had just undergone a lot of trauma. My concern was trying to get the blood stopped at that point.
Within 6 minutes, the Orange County Fire Rescue Division was on the scene, including EMT Debbie Marshall and paramedic Jeff Culhane.
Guy's got a gunshot wound, entry and exit. We got a hot scene. Suspects are probably still here. Okay?
We were all concerned because the scene was unsafe, and it was necessary to protect that patient as well as treat that patient.
Okay, I got a good radio pulse here. He's not shot.
A major concern for him was his breathing ability, whether or not his lung was involved, whether or not it was still functioning.
At that point, he was still pretty sweaty, grayish color, so we knew that he was going into shock, and that is a life-threatening situation.
Detective Mock arrived on the scene.
In this particular case, we have a 74-year-old victim who's absolutely no threat to anyone. I was told that the person was in critical condition and may die.
Though the area was thoroughly searched, no suspects were found that night. Six days later, an anonymous tip sent officers to a convenience store where two suspects had reportedly been sighted.
You just step off the tractor step and go and come this way, please.
Deputy Sheriff Tom Strickland was first on the scene.
I approached him, informed him that he was not under arrest. He was merely being detained for questioning by Detective Mock. There were several other individuals that knew I was looking for the other subject, and they pointed out that he's running across the park. That's when I went to the street and notified my supervisor and the other responding deputies.
There was a story in the Orlando Sentinel the day after the shooting. A lady had remembered reading this story when she heard one of the parties say, "If you don't stop bothering me, I'm going to shoot you like I did the old man last week." That piece of information that this lady passed on was what broke the case.
The suspects involved in the incident were subsequently convicted and sent to prison. Dominic's recuperation has been slow, but he hopes to make a full recovery.
He said, "You know, Mickey, I had a phone hidden away for a long time." And he says, and I remembered it that night, because he said, I forgot all about it. And he says, "I just thank God it still worked. You know, it worked after all this time."
The sheriff's department and the paramedics, they took very good care of me, and the best they could. They did a wonderful job. I couldn't have anything better. I got big help from what happened to me, and I figure I owe somebody help. I'm going to try it over again, yes indeed. My life is short. I'm going to enjoy every minute that I can.
Next.
It started off to be a pretty nice day, but it got pretty nasty pretty fast.